Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about REST APIs. We'll start with the actual usage and then we try to understand and at the end we'll also build a couple of APIs using Python FastAPI. Let's get into it. So REST stands for Representational State Transfer. It's a protocol used by clients and servers to communicate with each other, wherein if a client can communicate to multiple servers with the help of REST APIs. We'll start with the actual usage first. So if you go to the google.com and let us see what happens when we search for something. Let's say IPL, and here we can see a bunch of APIs. So a couple of them are IP, and IPL. So let me take the last call. So if you can see, the URL has the path which is /search until /search, and then it has bunch of things after question mark, where q is equals to IPL. This is the query we have searched for. We can discuss about other parameters. This is the query we have searched for, and if you see the response, so see the IPL is the first one and IPL 2025 is the second one, and so on and so forth, right? So if you go back to the request, this is the URL, this is the request, and the method is get, and there are multiple methods in REST API. We'll talk about it. So this particular call is using the get method, and the status code is 200 meaning it is successful. And remote address, this is the IP address of the google.com, and it also has response headers and request headers. So this is the actual usage, right? If you go back to the diagram, we have clients where in your browser you have a Google server. So your browser is trying to communicate with the Google server, and it is getting the response. So REST API uses HTTP 1.1 protocol. So that supports these methods: get, post, put, patch, options, and delete. And we'll talk about it, what this means. And this is also stateless. What do I mean by that is each individual API call is not dependent on the previous call. Take I and IP, these are two independent. IPL doesn't depend on the previous two requests. So this is called stateless. And the third one is RESTful. So RESTful APIs are nothing but the APIs which follows the REST convention, these method convention. So those APIs are called RESTful APIs. So each request has four broader things. So the first one is query parameters. As you have seen, q is equals to IPL, right? So there are a bunch of things after question mark. So these bunch of things are called query parameters, one of which is q is equals to IPL. It can have multiple query parameters. Each parameter is separated by ampersand. So q is equals to IPL is a parameter, and auth user is a parameter, etc. So we can send query parameters in the get for any of the API calls. Usually we use query parameters to transfer data from client to server for get method, right? And there is method payload. This API call doesn't have any payload, but we can send an extra payload other than the query parameters to the server. So usually get APIs doesn't send the data using body or payload. That is not conventional. So all other requests uses the body and payload to transfer the data. And the third one is headers. So there are two different types of headers: request header and response header. So when we are sending the request, we can send cookies and authorization tokens, etc. as the request header. And when the server returns the response, it can also add more headers to let the user know something has happened. For example, rate limitation and etc. It can add more response headers like content type application. In this case, it is application/JSON. And the fourth one is status code. So there are 5 broader categories for status code. The first one is 1xx, meaning everything between 100 to 199. So it is just informational. There are a handful of status code which we will use, 1001 to 1007, something like that. So this is informational, meaning server lets the user know that it needs to change something, maybe change the protocol or change the header, something like that. So this is used for informational purpose. And the second one is 2xx, meaning 200 to 299. This refers to the success response. In our case it is 200 okay. And there is also one other status called 201. It is used when a resource is created in the server, like when if you register for the first time, you'll get 201 response saying the user is registered, so and so forth. And the third one is 3xx, everything from 300 to 399. So this is the status code used to redirect the user, right? So I have a shortened URL. So this is the example. So see, when I open it, and the status code is 301 moved permanently, meaning the URL, so um, so the user is moved to a new URL, and that's how the short URL works, right? That is the third type of the status. The fourth one is 4xx, everything from 400 to 499. This refers to the client errors. For example, you're not authorized to login, so then it gives 401 unauthorized status code. Or if you are trying to find something which is not there, then you get 404 not found exception. So these are 4xx is the client errors, and 5xx is the server errors. So for some reason server failed to process your request, maybe the data is wrong or the server just crashed, then it returns the 5xx server errors. So, and apart from it, so there are multiple methods which REST API support: get, post, put, patch, options, and delete. Get is a method used when we want to get the data from a server. And post is the method when we want to send or store some data to the server. For example, when we register for the first time, we will use the post API to register. And put is a method which, when we replace um, a resource in the server, that's when we use the put API. And patch is when, so put and patch are very similar. So put is used to replace a resource, patch is used to update a resource. We don't replace the entire resource, we just update a couple of fields out of them, then that's when we use patch. And options is an API used by the browser, where if you are trying to access a different different URL from your URL, for example Excel. So you're trying to hit an API, call an API from excalibur.com, which is in different origin, then that's when browser uses the options call first to verify if this particular source is eligible to access the end resource or not. Then it actually does the second call, like get or post. And the last one is delete. So this API method is just used when we want to delete something from the server. So this is the broad overview. Let us build an API using FastAPI. I have created an empty folder wherein we'll code everything we need to from scratch. For this example, we are using FastAPI. So FastAPI is a Python library used to create APIs easily and faster, right? So I've gone to the official documentation, and it says create and activate virtual environment. In Python, there are two types of environments on every program: virtual and the actual environment. Actual environment is in your entire system, and virtual environment specific to the project. So we have to create a virtual environment so that we don't want to install FastAPI globally, right? Why do we need it? We just have to separate the concerns. Like when we install FastAPI, we will also get many more libraries which we don't want to bombard and install in our system. So to create virtual environment, what we'll do, we can do install virtual env. I already have it, so that's why it says requirement already satisfied. Then I can just create virtual environment with virtual environment dot refers to I want to create virtual environment here. If you don't have a folder, you can replace folder name with it. So I'll go with the dot. So we have to activate the environment. So the way we activate is source bin slash activate. If you open the bin slash activate, so we can just do source. Now we are inside the virtual environment. Everything we do now, that will install the libraries inside this. So let's say pip install FastAPI standard. See, that is installing inside the library. It is not bombarding everything from in your system. Now we can, so then it says create a file main.py with this data. So let us go, and so let me create a main.py, and I've created, it has two sample APIs, slash and slash items and item ID. So this curly braces meaning we can send any item ID that will be replaced instead of in place of item underscore ID. Then the response is we are returning the item ID which the user sent, and also this q is a query parameter. First we'll send without a query parameter, and we'll also send with the query parameters to see how it behaves. So in order to start, we have to do by FastAPI dev main.py. So the API has started, and now we can just open this. So yeah, see, when we don't put anything, that will be slash default. So that's why we have hello world, right? So now we'll try with this API items, and let's say 10. So items is defined in the path, and item ID is not defined. This can be sent by the user. So item 10, I can say 50. That will change it to 50. See, the queue is empty. So what is queue? Queue is defined to be query parameter. We are not putting anything after question mark. As I said, we can add multiple query parameters. Queue, maybe let's say Bala. Now this got replaced with query parameter Bala, right? So now we are just returning. So these both are get APIs. Let me just create a sample post API which takes data in the payload, right? And so see what is this doing? Post, and it is item slash, and it takes item as the payload, and it is just printing, it is just returning the item, right? So in order to test that, we can't test that in the browser because browser doesn't do anything else than get request. So for testing that, we need something called postman. So here we can do slash items 8000 slash items. So let me try. So it says detail method not allowed, and it is 405 method not allowed. This is a client error, meaning so the API doesn't accept the get, it accepts a post. So this we have to change it, and then the way we can send the body is through this body raw, and we are sending the JSON type. So what can I say? ID 1 and name. So let me just send. So now I've got item and the item which I've sent. Item is of type dictionary. So item dictionary. So we're just returning the entire item. So if you see the response, it is 200 OK, meaning it is successful. If we want to send a response which is not 200, we have to send otherwise. We have to send it separately. So when you just return it, it is defaulted to 200. This is how we can build APIs. I hope you guys like the video. Please do subscribe, share. Thank you.